Hi everyone. A little while back someone suggested that maybe I should appear on camera when making these videos, and I figured why not, let me give it a shot. So here I am. Before I get started, I wanted to let you guys know that I've opened up a Substack account, so if you're more into reading than watching or listening, then I will leave you guys a link on the description below. I've just finished Simply Unforgettable by Mary Balog. It was an enjoyable story, but I think that in comparison to some of the work she's done on the Westcott series or the Survivor series, for instance, it was a less intense novel, more of a heartwarming story than anything else, really. The pacing of it kind of left me a bit confused at times, but I did have a few ideas that I wanted to share with you guys, so let's get started. The story follows Francis and Lucius. He is an earl who had promised his ailing grandfather to marry within the year, and she's a school music teacher who is settled in contentment in Bath. They've run into each other during a drive in the snow after a Christmas party, spend some time together alone, grow rather fond of one another, spend an intimate night together, and they separate. There is a point in the story where I had trouble following the pace. He leaves but comes back insisting. She sends him away. He tries again, she sends him away once more. He tries yet again and she sends him away, and this goes on until she eventually accepts him, and they marry one another. I mean, it isn't quite like that. There is a lot more of value to their story. She feels ineligible. She's stubbornly attached to that decision she had made about it, and maybe the pace of the story had the purpose of annoying the reader with Francis's stubborn fixation with being correct about being the wrong person for Lucius. She is perhaps the perfect example of the wrong crystallization of a habit or a belief, so much so that she would sacrifice love in order to maintain that wrong belief alive. And this is shown in Lucius's irritation at her. In that sense, I think, Mary did a good job depicting that when we want to hold on to something, no matter how wrong or how much evidence to the contrary exists, no one is getting in our way, not even ourselves. It is interesting that the way out of such a stubborn crystallization was truth. It was sharing. It was Francis finally opening up to Lucius and telling him exactly what she felt about herself and why she had to refuse him. An interesting part of the story takes place here, or at least an interesting concept is explored, which actually appears a lot in all of her novels. Lucius says at some point, "You presume to know me so well. You do that a lot." It struck me while getting through their story that this is exactly the effect some of these fierce, narcissistic or defensive programs have in us. They change our perception of ourselves and of others. They convince us of the supposed reality of what someone else would do, think, or say about us. And when you really think about it, it's kind of ridiculous, absurd even, definitely irrational, yet we do it all the time. I know I do. Now, Lucius's insistence with Francis wasn't my favorite way for these two to end up together. All he had to go on was that he knew, after their one intimate night, that she was a passionate person. And so, he knew that being a teacher for her wasn't her dream, something that she actually confirms, but it felt like a bit of a stretch to me, at least. However, there is something that I thought was interesting if one were to take her story as an archetypical dynamic within. The novel explores several ideas: talent, passion, integrity, and naivete. Frances was always passionate about singing. However, she had been overtly protected by her father while she was growing up. Upon his passing, her passion and talent for singing was taken advantage of by predatory individuals due to her innocence. Despite this innocence, she had enough integrity to walk away from all of it, to not allow herself to be taken advantage of any longer, and thus killing her dreams. She froze her passion and instead used her talent in some other way, teaching, something honorable but safe, in the running away from life kind of safe. The trouble that Lucius comes to shed light on was that by her freezing her passion, she was denying herself to herself. There was no way anyone was to know her if she kept on sacrificing her nature. Lucius almost represents her heart, her emotions, and the yearning she experienced for her true self. And in that sense, his impertinent insistence and inability to take no for an answer is better understood in the context of the story. Lucius was Francis's unavoidable truth, the aspect of herself she could never forget or ignore, no matter how long she wished to postpone admitting to it. She had to face these emotions, face her own nature, and that was Lucius's role in her life. Their marriage at the end could also be understood as the way in which she integrated her nature with her conscious self, her dreams and passion with her knowledge and maturity. Upon finishing this story, I kept on thinking about a quote that I read once. "Stay true to your own nature and fear nothing." It has always stuck with me as a rather interesting idea, because it's not simply identifying with your drives, dreams, and passions, but rather bringing them into your conscious awareness and giving them a role in your life. But that can be only achieved if one does not ignore them, accepts them, and nurtures them with knowledge and integrity. So, perhaps if there is a few takeaways from this story, the biggest one in my opinion would be stubbornly holding on to a defense mechanism after its useful existence, and this is key, is annoying, to others at the very least, but to ourselves particularly. It is sacrificing something unnecessarily and at our own peril, like constantly cutting parts of ourselves that naturally grow, just so that we can prove to the world that they were never there in the first place, if that makes sense. It's like shaving our heads constantly only to be able to say to someone else, "See? I told you I've always been bald." And secondly, emotions and passion can be a force for transformation if nurtured with knowledge and integrity, and allowed to mature as we do. I heard someone say once that some emotions will hold us down and prevent progress, like the emotional attachment Frances had to her own defense mechanism, for instance, but that there are other emotions that can be what ignites and maintains the engine of transformation running. It's interesting that for most of us, learning academically and intellectually about any given topic isn't enough. Emotionally integrating a story that displays those very same principles or concepts tends to stay with us for far longer and in a different capacity. So, emotions definitely have a role in our lives, sometimes destructive, sometimes freezing. And this is obvious for most, but mature emotions, married with conscious effort, have the potential to ignite transformation and fuel progress. I thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you click like and subscribe, and you can share it with your friends. Remember that there is a Substack link on the description of this video if you like to read some of these scripts for these videos, and I will be catching you guys next time. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.